How many of you speak to yourselves where I really should do this, and I have to do that, and I must do this, and we get completely out of touch with our choicefulness. And it is not a fun place to live, because human beings have very, very deep needs for choice and freedom. And when I start developing a habit of speaking to myself through the language that seems to take choice and freedom away, I set up inside of myself a power struggle. Because what I'm doing is I'm putting myself in a position where I only have two choices again. I either rebel against myself or I submit. And if I submit to myself, then I'm pissy and resentful about it, and I do it with a crappy attitude, excuse me, or I rebel against it and I'm fighting with myself. We don't have the time to spend our energy doing this. We need our energy for far more important things than resisting ourselves. So you move yourself into the language of choicefulness, and you connect with what is the need that I'm trying to meet, and what are all of the ways beyond the two. Usually we start with our two options. I do it or I don't. I have to or I check out. I act it out or I numb out. We live in a very dualistic frame most of the time. So I start with my two options, and I make it a practice of saying, now what are three more? What is it that I'm needing? What are my habitual ways of seeing only two options? And how do I stay in a place of choicefulness where I can see at least three more options? How do I get creative about this? Okay? So that I'm not stuck in an internalized power struggle and an internalized rebel, submit. And then, of course, that's what I recreate in my relationships, right? I'll give you what you want, I'll give you what you want, I'll do what you want me to do. Yes, I'll accommodate you. I don't know what I'm needing, I just know what you're needing. And then suddenly one day I'm like, what about me, and when is it my turn? And now it's what I want, and why do I always have to change everything for you? And then you now need to submit to me because that's fair. And now we can both be miserable, right? But at least we're equal in it, so we'll comfort ourselves with a bit of equality, but we're miserable. So the first place to changing that in the relationships that we have in our lives is to start changing that inside ourselves. No longer will you leave here and tell yourself you have to do something. You're going to change it into, I could choose this. That doesn't mean that there aren't limitations in the range of choices we have available to us, especially when other people are doing things that we can't control. Right? But I can still make it a practice of staying in an internal space of empowerment where I can choose. And maybe I don't like the 5 options that I have, but I stay in a place where I know that even with the 5 options that I have, I'm going to choose this one of these 5 bad options, because it is the one that most likely will meet the most of my needs. And I come right back to, what needs am I trying to meet? And then I make my choices from that space. When you develop the ability to watch your life, just watch it neutrally, see yourself as an actress in a play, you're playing the leading tragic role of a Shakespearean drama, right? 1, you'll be able to enjoy it a little bit more because you don't have your identity tied up in it. 2, you drop down into your feelings and you allow them to process and metabolize so that you don't need therapy 5 years from now because you've stored all of these emotions in your body, and so now you're in chronic pain, okay? Just let them move. They will release. You get yourself really grounded in the needs that you're trying to meet, and you know that those needs are the same as every other woman in this room and every other person out there. And you start finding innovative and creative ways of doing your life and your relationship with yourself differently moving forward, so that you don't recreate the same relationships that haven't worked in the past, primarily with yourself. And what you learn to do then is actually have a relationship with yourself instead of losing yourself. And once you bring that to the table, your life can transform, and it can actually be fun and soothing and comforting. So that's my little piece on self-compassion, and it looks like you have a question.
Yeah, well, I love how you said, I mean, I think I totally can do that, like step out of the picture, and I'd win an Academy Award, I think, if I went to
Wouldn't we just?
I think everybody should come and see my movie.
Absolutely. I think we would enjoy it and find lots of empathy for you.
But I don't know, would you label it a comedy or a drama or a tragedy? But anyway, I can see definitely being able to do that, where I struggle with, okay, this feel, like, get yourself in a mode where feel your feelings.
Yep.
Are you almost saying, like, I think, should I also detach from my feelings in some, or like identify the feelings and act too as if like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm angry.
Yeah.
And like almost say, hey Lois, you're angry. And
Yeah.
almost like step out of the feeling too.
No, wallow
Like,
in it.
Okay, wallow.
Just enjoy the anger. Just really, really enjoy the anger. So what you want to do is not get stuck in any one moment, okay? So the most recent experience that I had, first there was shock. So then you go, okay, so shock is here right now. So this is what shock is like. Shock really sucks, okay? It's paralyzing. And here I am in my living room, and I'm going to stare at the ceiling, and it's now been 5 hours. So this is shock. Wow. Don't resist it. Just don't resist it. Know that once you pay attention to the feeling and you name it, and you feel it, and you experience it, it will shift pretty quickly. Every single feeling is just like the weather. Right? There is no storm that is going to last forever. You just wait it out. And so then after shock comes sort of this disabling fear. Now I'm really in touch with fear. And you start asking, where is it in my body? It's in my stomach. It's moved into the front of my arms. Oh, I'm cold. Fear is really cold. And fear trembles. And you get to know it. In some ways, let every feeling be a character in your play. And develop a relationship with it. You don't resist it, you don't make it bigger, you don't make it smaller, you get present, you witness it, and as much as you can, you just enjoy it. And once you do that, you find that it shifts all the time. All the time. Think about something as concrete as hunger or thirst. Okay? When thirst comes up, at the beginning it's just a little bit. And if you pay attention to it and you are in touch with, well, if I'm thirsty, I must need something to drink, and you meet the need, thirst goes away. But if you don't pay attention to the thirst and you're not sensitized to what it feels like, then it's going to get bigger and bigger and more intense, and eventually your whole system will only focus on that one need until it finally gets you to meet the need. So your feelings exist to bring your attention to your needs. So if I'm afraid, here it is in my body, what am I needing? Am I needing a sense of purpose, understanding, to be seen? Is it about security? Is it about predictability? What is this about? And then the answers will come. I think we don't do it because we have a theory, we've been told that if I feel my feelings, then I'm just pitying myself. Or now I'm just wallowing in it. Or now I'm just being self-indulgent. Do you have any of these? I don't know if any of you do. Maybe this could just be me. Okay, so I hereby give you all permission to be self-indulgent. Because if you can be self-indulgent, as in if you're hungry and you eat some food, the hunger is going to go away and you're going to be resourced. If you have a feeling, feel it. And don't get stuck in the thinking. You see, the self-indulgent piece is actually a thinking piece. It's when I add a story, if I add a victim story, or I add a dependent child story, and then I put all my attention on that story and that identity, now I'm doing something very different, okay? And I'm not helping myself. But if I can give the feeling a name, and I can take it from the feeling to the need, and the feeling to the need, and the feeling to the need, and then from the need to a strategy that's well aligned with that need, then I'm walking my way gently out of it into really effective practices in my life. But for most of us, we have a feeling and it goes to my identity and it goes into a story and it goes into a role that I play, and then the role that I play comes with a script, and it's either a victim script or a child script or a selling out script or a perpetrator script. I mean, we play all kinds of roles. And that's where we get into trouble. Yes?
I think sometimes, too, we don't want to deal with the feelings because it's a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be strong.
Yes.
And we can't
Yes.
cry, we can't show emotion.
Yes.
Because then that shows we're weak.
Yes, yes. In our culture, we have that completely backwards. We see the courage to enter into felt sense experience in life as a sign of weakness, when it's actually a sign of coming alive. Many of us are really afraid to come alive because when we're alive, we can feel pain. And so many of us are in resistance to pain. And so self-compassion is also about developing a different relationship with pain. When you are in pain, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you have done something wrong. It doesn't mean pain is not a punishment for being a bad person. Pain is a constant. Suffering is a given. If you're an embodied form in this world, you are going to feel pain and you will suffer. Now let's just develop a relationship with it that empowers us and strengthens us and gives us the capacity to not organize our lives around our wounds. Somebody told me a really beautiful story about that. It's a little bit like when if you go walking in the woods and you get a thorn in your arm, right? And it goes really deeply into your arm and there's this thorn. And you can't take it out, and you don't know how to take it out. So your whole arm gets really inflamed and tender. And then if anybody touches the arm, it's really painful. So then what you do is all of your attention is around nobody ever coming near that arm and touching that arm, right? And so everything that you do is about not letting this arm bump on anything, touch anything, don't get close to anybody because they might touch this wound. And this is what we do with our feelings a lot of the time. And what is needed is somebody with some skill and insight who can go in and say, let's take that thorn out. And the pain of going in and taking the thorn out is short-term and purposeful, much like feeling your feelings is short-term and purposeful. And once we remove the thorn, it can heal. So we don't want to live our lives, at least I don't want to live my life constantly avoiding pain. It's not a life. I'd much rather have the capacity to feel it, to tolerate it, and to be choiceful around it, and to really ground myself in the needs that I'm trying to meet so that I can be creative and innovative in my life and come from an empowered place, not a victim place, not a child place, while loving up the victim and the child in me. They need to come out to play too sometimes. Yeah. More questions?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the problem, to be honest, to recognize your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's meeting the needs.
It's meeting the needs.
Earlier, you feel lonely.
Yep.
Okay, what do you need?
What do you need?
Companionship.
Exactly.
Helping myself, and I think that's very big. Going to meetup groups, going to church.
Coming here.
Coming here, that helps. So you do help yourself.
Yes.
By what do I need? And when you said companionship, that's exactly what I was doing. I started making a list.
Yeah.
How can I get companionship?
Yes.
And I don't have family here because I'm from Europe. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. And so really, I don't have anybody. And when you're married for probably everybody over 20 years, you focus your life on your family, and your friends are all of a sudden gone because they were married or they're still married. So they kind of, it changes, everything changes. Your friends change, everything. So then all of a sudden I did that, go to meetup groups and then, but then comes a moment where, you are used to have someone late at night you can talk to, or all day around, and then all of a sudden, like, who can I talk to now?
Yep.
So
that becomes
that's
challenging.
The tough part.
It's
that's
very
the challenging
tough.
part. You cannot just pick up the phone and start talking to people.
Yeah.
Or what do I need? Okay, I need a better budget. Okay, I cannot go to the bank and get another $1,000 extra.
Yeah.
So then you got to go, okay, what can I do about that?
Yeah.
And then there comes the part that you were saying. You need to start looking for a job, and I did all that too. Time.
Yes.
Time, and it drags. And then that's one thing. I think patience is almost the biggest thing on the list.
Yes. Patience is big on the list, and also being present to yourself as you're going through it without judgment. Judgment is exhausting, and it will drain you. It will absolutely drain you. So getting right back to, even if sometimes the need that I meet is for acceptance of limited options. Sometimes I look at something and the need that I'm meeting is to really feel the grief and the loss of options that I'm enjoying. And seeing it that way and thinking to myself, what I'm really wanting is an expanded range of options in this situation. And right now it's sad that I don't have that. I'm in that moment offering myself a lot more self-compassion than when I start talking to myself like this, right? oh, well, this must mean that I'm not capable, and the problem is that I have no experience and I don't have any confidence, and then I'm going to go into shame and guilt. Both of these are exhausting emotions. They zap your energy, right? And then I start thinking that it was my fault and I wasn't good enough. Now, this is all thinking and story that we get stuck in. And what we want to do then is begin working with this differently. What am I valuing? If I'm telling myself I'm not capable, I'm really valuing effectiveness and competence and mastery and empowerment. Those are the needs that I'm wanting to meet. That's what I'm actually valuing. When I put my attention on what I'm valuing and what I'm moving towards, it's far more energizing than when I'm stuck in this thinking that I'm not capable. And if it's that I have no experience, now I'm problem focused again. Now I'm deficit focused again. And if I can move that into, okay, what I'm really valuing is experience and more options, then I can start getting creative and innovative around, so how am I going to get that? How am I going to get that? If I value experience, what's the next step? It helps move you forward to the future that you're wanting. If I tell myself I have no confidence, the problem with me is that I have no confidence. What am I deeply valuing under that? What deep need do I have under that? You can look at your lists. Right?
Well, how can other people believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
So maybe one of the things that I'm really needing here is a sense of self-connection, a sense of self-respect, a sense of self-acceptance, a sense of I value confidence. How am I going to get that then? Mm-hmm. So we want to make this shift internally from getting stuck in our habitual thinking about what is wrong into thinking about what it is we're valuing and moving towards. Okay, so you can start translating all of those. I'm going to give you a little handout. We're not going to do it together this evening, but it's a little worksheet on transforming self-judgments into self-compassion. And you can work your way through this when you get home. What you usually do is you start off with all the judgments. This is a little place where I have all these judgments about myself. Okay. The problem with me is that I have too much negative thinking and I don't see options and blah, blah, blah. And then I try and translate that into just a neutral observation. What is it that happened? And then you can walk your way through this thing that I've done. Let's talk a little bit, just for one moment, about self-responsibility. Sometimes I find myself doing a strategy or having done something that did not meet my needs. So instead of seeing it as bad and wrong, if I can say, oh yeah, when I slammed the door in his face and threw all of his clothes off the balcony and into the snow, that really did not meet my needs for integrity and self-respect and choicefulness, and it felt very good. However, what needs were well met, because I would not have done that thing if it didn't meet a good and legitimate need of mine. Self-expression being one, okay? I had a deep need for self-expression, and I had a deep need to matter that was not being met. And if I was not going to be mattering for the reasons I wanted to be mattering for, I was going to matter for other reasons. But I was going to get myself seen and heard one way or another, okay? And if I can see that behavior instead of as a borderline neurotic rage, where I need mental health treatment, but instead, as, a legitimate strategy, it met some needs, some self-expression. I got to be heard. I felt very empowered. And then later, when the shame and guilt kicked in, I realized that some other needs of mine were not met. Then I can start walking my way into future actions that can meet more of my needs. And I'm not caught in a power struggle, and I'm not caught in some kind of shame and guilt cycle on the inside. Sound good? So I'll send these around. You can work through those. And then on the back side of this, of the self-compassion page, I've just given you some further resources. There are some compassion websites. A lot of them have meditations, really lovely self-compassion meditations. There's a Learning Academy and a couple of books. One book that I found really, really helpful was When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. That's a lovely book. And then the other thing is that I do have a tiny little summary. It's just a little book. You can always go on my website and just download this. It's a bit of a summary of what I talked about this evening with a bit more of my story in it. So you can get that on my website. These are the practices for starting over. If you want a copy of that, it's free. And then I run a couple of practice groups in town. There's sort of communication, self-help practice groups, and those are on there as well, which you're welcome. You're always welcome to drop into any of those.
Are they all on the west side of town?
There's a Friday night practice group in Excelsior.
Where in Excelsior?
Do you know where Hazelwood restaurant is? So it's basically across the street from the energy plant.
Oh, okay.
Yep, by the bowling alley. Yep, it's in the Lake Fellowship Unitarian Universalist little A-frame building in the woods.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
anything on the east side? Yeah, because my question was, I should have posed it this way.
Yes.
Anything on the east side?
The other practice group on Wednesday mornings is at Plymouth Congregational Church in Minneapolis. It's on Franklin and Nicollet. So that's as far out as I go that way.
And what's the charge for the practice group?
There's sliding fee. They're free. If you want to come for free, you will never be turned away. The requested fee is anywhere between $10 and $25 for a 2-hour group. If you can't pay the fee, you can still come.
What happens in a group meeting?
There's a check-in. I provide a short didactic. Then we usually do some kind of guided activity to deepen our experience working with a lot of these principles, and then we check out. So it's very empathy-oriented, support-oriented, storytelling-oriented, but it's got very specific skills that we're working on. So mindfulness skills, empathy skills, self-compassion skills, relational skills, dialoguing skills.
Is this every Friday then?
Yes, it is.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
In the
Every
evening,
Friday,
you said?
6:30 to 8:30 in the evening on Fridays, and it's drop-in. You can come as often or as few times as you like, and the same thing with Wednesday mornings. So,
So I saw that and I was like, oh, Greg just got his townhome in Excelsior, and that's where his girlfriend is. So is that when I breathe deep and just say, I'm going to do it? Because it's good.
yes, and you can even show up, and then you can say, and I'm having a variety of feelings right now, and I would like some empathy for them, because I need to track and tolerate them, so that they can metabolize and not get stuck inside of me. Yes, absolutely. The other thing I want to offer you, there's one more thing on the feelings piece. In my family, when there were strong feelings, you were sent to your room. And so feeling our feelings when we are alone can activate shame. And having feelings when you're with safe other people allows them to get diluted and held by a bigger container than just you. So if you're having strong feelings, you want to seek out community. And you want to seek out safe others who can really be present to help you with the metabolizing of all of that energy. Because it's intense energy, and sometimes the energy moving through you is more powerful than the container that you currently are. And in those cases, you really want to get some community help and support so that you're not doing it alone.
I think
Yes.
that's why when you are, I know I talked to a lot of people before it actually even happened,
Yeah.
and it made me feel so much better. He never talked to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time that point came,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, ta-da!
Yes.
He was just like, he had held it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, he was a little constipated with his feelings. A little backed up there.
Good one.
Yeah. And we know how good that feels. Okay. We don't want that to happen. We also don't want diarrhea. So, I mean, if we're going to play with that analogy, everything in balance. Metabolize it, move it through, take what's good from it, and let the rest go. Yeah, but stay alive. You need your energy. Don't shut down. And don't waste it on fiery volcanic types of energy either. So, anything else? Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.